That's just who you are. I can see you glow, shining from afar. Passion in your heart, fire in your eyes. But you on the rise, lighting up the skies. You're a superstar. That's just who you are. I can see you glow, shining from afar. Passion in your heart, fire in your eyes. But you on the rise, lighting up the skies. You're a superstar.
Welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul Awakening Show, where we celebrate resilience, honor triumph over tragedy, and inspire transformation, guiding you on a life-changing journey of healing and self-discovery. Now get ready to be inspired by Stars Tina.
You're a superstar, that's just who you are. I can see you glow, shining from afar. Passion in your heart, fire in your eyes. But you on the rise, lighting up the skies. You're a superstar, that's just who you are. I can see you glow, shining from afar. Passion in your heart, fire in your eyes. But you on the rise, lighting up the skies.
Hey, PJ, how you doing today?
Stars Tina, it is a super fantastic day, and I'm always glad when I am graced with your beautiful presence.
Yay, yay, yay. I am just loving today. Weather like where you are. When I went outside, oh my God. Looks like I'm spinning my wheels. How's the weather where you are? Is it beautiful outside?
It is beautiful. It was upwards of 81 degrees here in the beautiful Augusta, Georgia, hometown of the late godfather of soul. I had my top
Look
down.
at you,
today.
well.
I had my top down. I'm enjoying it whenever I can to let that top down. And
Did you let your hair blow in the wind?
Look, can't you see? Can't you tell? It blew so far. I got to go back and find it.
I love it. I love it. Well, here in North Carolina, it's just as beautiful. But I'm so excited about today's guest. I know this season is all about the men, and so we want to jump right into it. I'm very excited for this next person we have. You know who he is. His name is Hyman. I've met him several times. And before I, throw it over to you, I just want to say one thing that I really admire about this person is his work ethics. He's and the fun side as well, because some people can be very professional and they want to get to the point, but they're just like that all the time. But he's got like that chill funness. So make some noise. Give it up for T. How you doing?
What up? What up? It's that balance, Stars. It's that balance.
How do you keep that
hard,
balance?
If you work hard, you gotta know how to play hard. I know how to play just as hard. Yeah.
But how do you keep it? Like if you play too much and then it's like you miss out on work? Does that ever happen?
It has happened. I think now I probably still work more than I play as a 100% entrepreneur, right? Running my business full time since leaving corporate. But I still try to have a little fun. It's important.
I love it. I love it.
We had a little fun after working recently in Florida, right?
Yes.
Stars Tina has an extremely wild side, folks. Extremely wild.
We were hugging trees, PJ. Hugging trees.
Hugging trees. That might bring back some PTSD for PJ back in my basic training time, where we were hugging trees, talking to trees, and doing all kind of ungodly things.
I'd never hugged a tree in my life.
Under the auspices of being trained to be a soldier.
Man.
TM, I want to tell you why we came up with this season just for men. Last season, as you know, my show is about mind, body, and soul awakening, traumas and tragedies. So last season, we went over all the traumas and tragedies that I went through in my life. Veronica was co-hosting with me. PJ came on for a season. I don't remember why he came on, but she said our energy was so good, we should do something together. And then she was saying how men really don't get the opportunity to speak and share. So that's how this was built. And I'm going to throw it over to PJ to take over. Go for it.
Thank you both for having me. Thank you so much.
Well, once again, welcome T.M. Hyman, America's favorite mentor,
Thank you,
to the Mind, Body, and Soul Awakening Show. I'm going to jump right into it because we don't get enough time. I want to start out, let our audience know, from the age of 5 to becoming America's favorite mentor, the road and the path of T.M. Hyman, from 5 to America's greatest mentor?
From the age of 5,
Yes,
Pastor?
sir. Yes, sir.
What do you want to know? That's a long road for me. What
Well,
exactly do you want
we
to know?
want to just get us a quick synopsis of who you are. We're going to talk about a topic that's not often talked about men, more readily talked about women,
Yeah,
and that's imposter syndrome.
yeah.
And so, as we talk about that, sort of just bring the audience up to date so they can have some context as we talk as two men about this thing called imposter syndrome.
Man, imposter syndrome, that is something that I know very, very well. I think, like a lot of individuals, they may not acknowledge it, right? But it's something that I certainly know a whole lot about. Age of 5, that takes me back really, really far. I have lived up and down the East Coast. I've had the pleasure of traveling, and I think when I think of around 5, I could have been relocating from maybe Pensacola, Florida, back to Virginia. My parents was in the military, and so I bounced around a couple places. Virginia ultimately is a primary location for me, but I lived up north, all the way up north, as far as Maine. Maine, very close to Rhode Island, and I've lived very far down south as far as Tampa, Florida, Pensacola, Florida. Um, but from, I think, traveling a whole lot, Pastor Jeff, I typically was the only kid who looked like me, right? So think of Bath, Maine, think of Pensacola, Florida, right? Um, when I think of those younger years, I can think of being in classes where, again, I was the only black kid. And the good thing is, had a deep connection with my family, right? I had a lot of cousins. We were a whole gang all by ourselves. My mom is one of 9 kids. My mom is a twin, right? And so I think when I was young, I could remember up being 35 of us at one point, right? So I mean, yeah, we were a gang, but from 5 until I think when I think of 5, I think elementary school, starting elementary school, grammar school. Um, I was a a kid with a big old curly afro, and I talk proper. I talk proper. Again, I lived in Bath, Maine. I lived in Pensacola, Florida, and then I went back to uh, Virginia, right? And so when you think of the transition, not only did I, talk proper and have big curly hair, I didn't always look like my friends, right? My parents were working parents, but a lot of times the interesting thing about what I can remember as a kid, Pastor Jeff, is
Mhm.
living somewhere but going to school somewhere else, right? I lived in with my parents, but my mother worked. So we
Okay.
would get dropped off at our grandparents' house to go to school, get picked up in the evening, right? So I would play with a group of kids during the daytime that I went to school with, but it would be a different group of kids that I went home to in the evening, right? So it was the best of both worlds for me. And I think I've experienced the best of both worlds a lot, right? I've had 2 sets of parents most of my life. My mother and father was not married, right?
Okay.
So my mother had a wife, my mother had a husband, my father had a wife. So I would literally, as a kid, right, and I'm thinking as early as 5, way before then, but I would go spend the weekend with my dad. They had rotating weekends, right? And so having 2 sets of families I think for me is resonating in my mind as I reflect back on 5 years old up until now, because it provided me a tremendous amount of support and reinforcement, right? Two families,
Okay.
you know, grandfather, grandmother over here, grandfather, grandmother over here. Although I never knew my father's father,
Mhm.
he passed away before I was even born.
Okay.
So my grandmother is all I knew, but I've been educated about my grandfather. Um, but mentorship is the thing that resonates the most for me. As the oldest kid, right, I had to be a mentor, but I also remember having very open, honest conversations with my grandfather and my uncles when I was younger. I could ask questions, right? And they would tell me when I've gone too far with my
Okay.
questions. I was curious, George. I was
All
curious,
right.
George. Listen, if you would allow me to ask, I'm going to
Mhm.
ask. And if you give me the answer, great. And if you don't, great. Probably go ask somebody else, right?
Well,
But
that's a good thing.
yeah,
As you talk about questions, our audience may be wondering, well, PJT, what in the world is imposter syndrome? So let me give a definition, and then I
mm,
want to come back. While we're giving this definition, I want you to think about perhaps your first incident of imposter syndrome, whether you knew what it was or not.
oh, absolutely.
The definition of imposter syndrome is it's also known as imposter phenomenon or imposterism. It's a psychological pattern in which individuals doubt their own abilities, their own skills, and their accomplishments, despite the evidence otherwise, despite their true competence and their true success.
Yes.
Those who are affected with imposter syndrome often feel like they are frauds and they don't truly deserve the achievements and the recognition that they've earned. They attribute their accomplishments to luck, to timing, or others' help, or something else other than acknowledging that it is who they are.
Mhm.
Can you share with us the first time you dealt with imposter syndrome, whether you knew what it was or not?
Yeah, I had literally just reflected on this talking to somebody. They thought it was funny that I could remember this, but awareness is very important to me, and I'm very aware um, of things. Listen, I got punched in my eye when I was about. I had to be seven. I had to be 7 years old when I got punched dead in my eye by Keith Combo. I still remember his name.
It's funny how we do that, isn't it?
When I said that, they cracked up laughing. Like, how do you remember? You never forget somebody who punches you square in the eye. And listen, I remember running home. I remember running home, pulling on my grandmother's back screen door, trying to get in the house, crying up a storm coming from the bus stop. You don't be crying after you done just got punched in the face. No, no.
That's the
Listen,
wrong answer.
wrong answer. He was much taller than me, right? Um, he was a bully. I had just been bullied, right? I was about 7. He was probably about 12. But no, go back out there, right?
This is
And
grandma. This is
this is
grandma.
grandma. Go back out there, right? And pull yourself together, right? I don't care like what you do, how you do it, but you're not gonna come run in here and hide. That was my first dose of imposter syndrome and like getting confronted with the fact that you might not feel like you can, but oh yeah, you can. You're not going to be running and hiding. That was my first real experience with imposter syndrome, bro. And I remember it today because I never ran, never cried again. Again, right? Sometimes we're afraid to face, right, those big rocks, right? It looks like Goliath, right? We're feeling like David, right? But we got to be able to face the giant in the midst, because yes, we can, even when we feel like we can't. I know it a whole lot, and I've experienced it many times since then in career and relationships, right? But I've learned how to talk myself through a lot of times that fear, Pastor Jeff,
Okay.
right? Knowing that fear only lasts 90 seconds, right?
Mhm.
But it takes us out probably in the first 5, 10, 20 seconds. And so, yeah,
Absolutely.
and the positive self-talk. Oh, yes, we can. Like the little train that could, you know,
Yeah.
think I can. I think I can.
And no, Tim, you said something that folks laughed, and from a psychological perspective, what really happened is something that's called a C, SEE, significant emotional event. And as you talked about being punched in the eye, the C, that
Keep
significant
combo,
emotional,
brother.
yeah, the significant emotional event is embedded in your unconscious mind, and you'll take that to your grave with you. I remember Brent Jackson,
Yes.
the first person, third grade, first fight I had. But you remember that because it becomes so significant that it's implanted. You'll forget
Embedded.
other people's names and places, but you remember those. Can you share with us the first time that you made a major accomplishment, but that imposter syndrome set in and you attributed it to something else other than your ability and your own competence?
Hmm. Mm. You know, I'm sure I can't think of anything significant that stands out, but I'm sure it's been a few things. I don't take a lot of pride in um, recognizing or needing to be recognized for things that's done.
Mhm.
I don't need it necessarily, and often I'm trying to really learn how to pause and at least reflect on things a little bit more. For me, Pastor Jeff, it's a team effort. It's we, it's us, it's our. I programmed my mind to think like that. Again, I'm the oldest of 6 kids, right? So, even though I'm very independent, it's always a we thing. It's always a us thing, right? Because I promote teamwork. But I'm trying to reach back. Um, I try to give myself credit. I try to pat myself on the back, celebrate the small wins when necessary, but nothing significant, stands out for me. Accomplishments, yes, I've accomplished a lot. But
Let's talk about it. Can you name a few of those accomplishments? Because you didn't just get to be America's favorite mentor.
yeah, no,
You didn't
absolutely.
just get to be a sound engineer. You didn't just get to be a executive in corporate America. You
Yeah,
didn't just get to be many other things that you have accomplished just because you were the oldest of six.
yeah. I'll tell you something, man. I grew up understanding that you have to be that thing, right? That if you can see it, you can achieve it, but you have to like fake it till you make it, right? There's a passage that says something like, speak those things that are as though they were, or that were as though they are, right? I mean, you know where I'm going with
I
that.
know exactly what you're talking
That
about.
scripture, right? So for me, I've always, so my parents were entrepreneurs, both of my parents, both of them. And being entrepreneurs, they were leaders. So there was just some entrepreneurial DNA, right, pumping through my blood, in my opinion. Some things that just came very naturally for me that other people had to really work hard, study hard in order to acquire. Like Pastor Jeff, like I probably could have gone to through my entire educational career on scholarships, but I never studied and still was on honor roll throughout my entire educational experience. It was easy for me to process information. I knew I was going to be in business, right? I knew I was going to own some stuff. I didn't know when, didn't know how, but I just kind of knew I had a vision of those things. And I sacrificed a lot that my peers and kids probably didn't have to when I was younger, right? I mean, when it comes to working, I started working when I was 12.
Okay.
I had a paper route at 12 years old. I was collecting $200 every 2 weeks at 12 years old. So the idea of making money, my parents were serious about helping me to understand that early, right? Work ethic. And I heard Tina speak of, thank you so much for the kind words about work ethic. It's interesting to hear people talk about my work ethic because it's just the thing, right? It's just what we
Now there
do.
is, I'm gonna interrupt you here
Go
because
for it.
therein, as we talk about imposter syndrome as men, and men don't often talk about it, we hear women talk about it more. What I'm hearing from you, TM, is that you have had a lot of accomplishments, and the audience doesn't realize because they don't know you like we know you, and we don't know you like your brothers or your sisters know you, but we do know that you have had a lot of what we would call major accomplishment. But what I'm hearing is you haven't named really a lot of those accomplishments. I've named them. And it's almost as though I did them, but there's no big thing. I did them, no big thing.
And I'll tell you,
I
that's
didn't have to
exactly how I feel.
I
It
didn't have to
truly is.
study much. And for that, because I dive in that but I'm straight with it, is everybody can't not study and still make the honor roll. Everybody
Fact.
can't be successful as an entrepreneur. Let's just be honest with it. Everybody doesn't have what it takes to be
And listen,
successful.
I'm still working on it, right? I mean, I'm
Right.
still evolving that, and specifically doing it like for the first time. What is this? This is October 22nd. Um, I'm in my 10th month. My 10th month. I'm not new to business, right?
Right.
But I'm in my 10th month of running my business full time for the first time ever in my life. I've always had a job that funded, right, all of my ideas, and I've always worked. And last year I drew a line in the sand and was like, listen, there's a window of opportunity available. I'm getting older. And if I don't just like bet on myself, Pastor Jeff, if I don't draw a line in the sand and go for it right now, I'll never do it. I'll never do it, right? I mean, I can always go back to work. But am I really willing right now to take a 100% risk bet on myself? I did. And it was the best thing I could have ever done in my life. I've been having the time of my life this year, Pastor Jeff.
Share with us the level of success that you had before 10 months ago. Let's go back a year ago
Yeah.
when you were in corporate. What was your position in corporate?
Yeah, man, I was the I was the senior strategy manager.
Wait a minute, senior strategy manager.
Strategy at Cox Communications at a national level. I managed multiple locations inside and outside of the U.S. And that was
Approximately how many people?
13 locations. You're talking thousands.
Okay.
Thousands of people.
I'm going to pause you there for a moment. You said that as though anybody could do it.
As if I've been doing it for a long
time.
Yeah,
real casual. Yeah, I just international Cox strategy manager, thousands of people internationally. No big deal. This is a part of what we call imposter syndrome because it is a big deal. And
well, I don't want to cut you off, but I'll say this. It's a big deal if we allow positions and titles to drive who we are. It's not that it's not important to me because I'm far from having imposter syndrome. What I don't do is I don't allow positions and roles um, to make me important. My role, my position doesn't really dictate who I am. And so I am around a lot of people. I have a lot of friends who lead with, I am doctor, who lead with, I am senior manager, I am director of. Listen, when I entered the room most of the time, Pastor Jeff, in my capacity, people had no idea who I was because I didn't look like what they thought I should look like. So for me, I breeze past a lot of stuff because I'm still doing a lot of stuff, right? I don't really. I hear a lot of people talk about the past. I'm not one of those people because I'm focused on the future. And so, for me, I don't sit and talk about what I do a lot because I'm actually doing it. But I do understand, right? When people have a hard time articulating that it could appear a certain way, but I'm just not moved by positions and roles. You know,
I I, un-
yeah,
I understand that. What I'm getting at is that when we're asked to write our own bio. See, I understand this because I've dealt with imposter syndrome, and I didn't realize what all I had accomplished because I was too busy at what's the next thing I want to accomplish. So whatever was in the past was the past. I didn't think about it, and I'm looking forward. However, that is who you are. Everybody can't manage thousands of people. Everybody, you recently worked with Dr. Jeannie Snyder in Atlanta in sound engineering. Everybody can't do sound engineering.
well, I DJ, right?
What
So,
do
so listen, I was hired to DJ, but because I went to the Art Institute of Atlanta and I'm also an audio video producer, I can hook up a whole concert hall. Pastor Jeff,
That's what I'm talking about, TM.
DJ.
That's what I'm talking about. See, you went to the DJ where you actually went to school to become an audio video sound engineer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so the DJing is kind of like a hobby. The engineer
Well, the
music.
DJing it was my first real job, and that came out of studying at Norfolk State University, mass comm, right? I mean, it's just been an interesting trajectory. And I think you're making me think about this path, and I'll tell you,
Mhm.
a lot of people do. I meet a lot of people who I've hired, who I've fired, who I've worked with, right? And they always have a story. People always have stories, and often they're reminding me
Mhm.
of things that have happened along the way because it's been so many things.
I got a question for you. If you were listing a bio, if you had to give us a 60-second bio of who TM Hyman is, what he's accomplished, of what he's accomplished, what would that 60-second bio be?
60-second bio. Well, T.M. Hyman, America's favorite mentor. Listen, I have attended Norfolk State University, University of South Florida, right? I mean, my first job literally, right, was radio. But I thought I was going to be a doctor, Pastor Jeff, up until the age of 19 years old. I literally registered for a surgical assistant program, Eastern Virginia Medical School. Dr. L.D. Britt changed my life, right? Dr. L.D. Britt told me I needed to come observe two surgeries. Observing those two surgeries helped me to understand that my trajectory was not in medicine, right? It was because of Dr. L.D. Britt and many mentors like Dr. L.D. Britt and my grandfather, man, who has inspired me to be where I am and who I am today, right? That's TM in a fast forward nutshell.
Tim, I got about 10 minutes, I think, before we close this interview out. I want you to speak to other men today who have minimized their accomplishments, other men who are still dealing with imposter syndrome and may or may not know exactly what the medical definition of it is. What would you say to help those men to recognize that they have the competence, that they have the skills, they have the social proof, and that they need to own up to it?
It all starts in our mind. It all starts in our mind at the end of the day. Um, when I think about society and where we are right now as a society, we need more hope than ever. We need more kindness than ever, right? More forgiveness, more love than ever. And it starts within ourselves. I think for men, and if I can go further, right, and say black men, right, men who look like us specifically, we have to start with forgiveness, right? A lot of us have tons of traumatides that we're trying to navigate through, right? And so, negative emotions, limiting beliefs, self sabotage, imposter syndrome, we're all dealing with it. Opening up these kind of conversations, Pastor Jeff, is extremely important. So, thank you, one. For being intentional about everything you do in this space. Thank you, Tina. But listen, let's start with forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the past, right? Because we can't change it. But there's four things you have total control over: what you think, what you say, how you act, and how you feel. You have total control over that. But it starts with forgiveness. It starts with surrounding yourself with people who celebrate you, not just tolerate you, right? People who want to see you do better. That's where it starts, right? Because proximity is everything. And for me, exposure makes a heck of a difference. When you're in proximity of people who care about you, right? And you can get that exposure to new things, it brings about that shift, right? And it brings about new opportunities.
Tim Hyman, you are also a minister in your own right. You are a NLP practitioner,
Yes, sir.
timeline therapy, neuro linguistic programming, the NLP. As we share and you think about not only Black men, but Black women, what would you say to that woman whose significant other or whose husband is still plagued with imposter syndrome? How can she assist him?
Love them, first and foremost. Communicate, affirm them. We must affirm one another. I think there's a very interesting clash of the titans that's happening right now in America, and I think around the world, amongst the genders, right? Clash of the titans. It starts with communication. It starts with communication. We got to be able to talk it out, right? If we can't talk it out first, we're doomed. And I think, Clubhouse is a very interesting place. I'm listening, like I get up 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and people are having the most interesting discussions about relationships. And I'll tell you something, Pastor Jeff, I'm learning a lot through listening to these discussions about relationships. I'm learning more about compromise, listening to other people. I'm like, okay, maybe I wasn't as compromising as I could have been in previous relationships, right? Um, Courageous. Maybe I didn't address some things that I should have addressed in those previous relationships, right? And so I think it starts with communication, compromising, but being courageous enough
Okay.
to address the things that don't always feel good. But I respect you and love you more because it didn't feel good, but you confronted me with it. Don't be afraid to confront him, but do it in a loving way, right?
Now you spoke of love, and let's just be honest with it. A lot of people use that word,
Hmm.
and it has, I mean, a myriad of definitions to the person that's using it. You talked about being courageous and
Yeah.
communicating. How important is it, TM, for that wife, for that significant other, to not only affirm her man, but to build him in reiterating his accomplishments so that he hears them and he recognizes them. As you and I both know, those who deal with imposter syndrome almost bury the accomplishments because they've minimized them.
Mhm.
So, how important is for her to not let him bury every accomplishment?
You know, it's extremely important. I am working through a client situation right now. Literally started last week, and there was a couple of things he called out in his own situation, his language, his negative self talk, the negative self talk. And so, how you can determine if there's women or even men who may not even know, if you're trying to determine if you have this syndrome, if you talk negatively to yourself, you probably suffer a little bit from the syndrome. If your significant other talks negatively, right? And now this is something I've never done in my life. And I struggle with hearing people do it. I've never called myself dumb.
Mm.
I've never called myself stupid. Like I've never. And I've heard people call themselves dumb and stupid. It stops me in my tracks. It stops me. I will stop what I'm doing. I stop in my tracks. And I did that recently with a client. He stopped me in my tracks. And he's like, you know what? I'm glad you did that because my wife tells me all the time that I really bother her with how I speak about myself because she doesn't feel that way about me. I challenge us with one another. But women, I challenge you with your significant other. Write the words down. When you hear words that bother you that come out of his mouth, write the words down, put on a sticky note, put on the wall. See,
That's
you have
good.
to bring things to people's attention. When I heard my client say, I'm just the dumb old yada yada, I was like, because see, I'm about to leave quietly from this meeting until you get your language together, because there's nothing that we can do here right now,
Right.
right? Because you about to work the hell out of me, and I don't even no. It starts with language. It starts with how you talk to yourself, right? And that negative self-talk, man, it tells a whole lot about where we are and how we're feeling. And if anyone ever, even as a child, please don't, you know where it comes from? It comes from people calling us dumb and stupid.
Yes. Yes.
And thank God I've never called myself dumb or stupid because I've never been surrounded by adults who use that language with me as a kid.
Mhm.
And so that's where it starts. Adults who refer to themselves that way were children
Mhm.
who people referred to that way. Oh, it's deep.
TM, from an NLP perspective, help the man and the woman come out of their conscious to fix this in the unconscious. I know we only have a few minutes left, but as quick as you can, help them to understand the importance of what they're putting in their unconscious mind so that it manifests in the conscious.
What words? What words matter? Neurolinguistics, neuro, it's the mind, it's the brain. Linguistics, the words that we use and how our mind and our brain processes those words, right? And so, negative emotions, the feelings, our subconscious mind harbors our motivation and our hesitation. It's all, and it comes from the same place, right? Because our unconscious is supposed to protect us. That's what it does. So it puts you on pause. And so when it comes to how we're processing, right, negative emotions unconsciously, the negative aspects of our unconscious mind, right, it's about how we're feeling, what kind of behaviors, right, we are picking up based on how we're feeling. We got to be able to check ourselves emotionally. Why am I feeling like this? Where does this come from? What's the root cause? Because 10% is the situation, 90% is how we respond in
Can you
every
say that
situation.
again?
10% is the situation, 90% is how we respond to the situation in every circumstance.
Okay.
Why is that? Because we have total control over what we think, how we feel, what we say and how we act, right? Total control. So every circumstance is really smaller than what we blow it up to be based on how we respond, right? And so when you're feeling these negative emotions that's causing you to spiral out of control, pause, breathe. 4, 7, 8. 4, 7, 8. Breathe in 4. Hold it. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Blow it out. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tina and I just did a tag team on some leaders, right? At a healthcare organization. 4, 7, 8. We did 4 sets. I think a couple of them wanted to go to sleep afterwards, Tina. Very relaxing. That is how you can get yourself together really quickly, Pastor Jeff. Checking yourself, doing the deep breathing exercises, and then asking yourself, why am I feeling this way? Because, my friends, what typically happens, what we are reacting to in this moment right now, it typically isn't what we're responding to. When we go out of control, we're triggered, we're upset with the behavior, but it's really the root cause of something from the past.
Tim, we got a couple more minutes. We'll have to turn it back over to Tina. I want to ask you this question here. Someone's listening, male or female, that says, wow, that resonates with me. I would love to find out more from T.M. Hyman, America's favorite mentor, from T.M. Hyman, the neuro-linguistic programming, timeline therapy, mindness coach. How could they get a contact with T.M. Hyman?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, one, I see a link that is strolling. They can certainly click the link tree, T.M. Hyman at Linktree. All of the links are there. You can visit LOD Weekly, which is the Leadership on Demand newsletter. Very dynamic group of leaders come together every Sunday. Leadership on Demand Clubhouse. Today we were there 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock. It's been a great day. You can also visit tmhyman.com. But I think the link tree has everything right there. So Linktree /TM Hyman. And thank you so much. Pastor Jeff, it's a pretty slick tie too, brother.
Oh, well, thank you. This is the last question, last question. And this is one of my more casual ties, because I know T.M. Hyman is a casual guy. So,
you knew I was coming.
I knew you was coming. I didn't get one of my more Tom Ford type or designer ties for you. Look, that man that's listening to this broadcast, this TV program put on by Stars Tina, hosted by PJ, that is in the middle of imposter syndrome, never heard of imposter syndrome, doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
Help him understand his symptoms and why he needs to be helped. And then I'm going to pass it over to Stars Tina. And I want to say thank you ahead of time for allowing PJ to interview you and take some of your precious moments that you won't get back.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. And thanks for staying flexible with me, Pastor Jeff. We had to schedule this a couple times, but thanks for staying committed. And thank you both for having me on. Listen, if you are really trying to figure out if imposter syndrome applies to you, if you find yourself always thinking that everyone else can do it, but you can't, right? If there's been something burning on your heart, and for some reason you can't execute it because you don't think you're good enough, right? You don't think you have enough, right? You don't think you're smart enough. You have imposter syndrome. You have imposter syndrome. And it starts with acknowledging that if I can do it, you can do it. If he can do it, you can do it. If she can do it, you can do it. But the question is, do you believe it? Right? Faith without work is dead. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision, make it plain so that others can run with it. You got to start writing what it is that you want to do. Write it down. Things that we write down, we're 49% more likely to make it happen just because we write it down. Write the vision, make it plain. If I can do it, you can do it. Because this is what I believe. With Christ, there's nothing
Nothing.
There's nothing that's impossible.
TM Hyman, thank you so very much. And I will say this as I turn it over to Stars Tina. The fact that a person is dealing with imposter syndrome, the professionals have declared and established that you are not an imposter. That's good news. The fact that you deal with it, the fact that you are plagued with it, means that it's just a different mindset that you need to have. You need to have a mind shift into the right mindset because you're anything but an imposter. With that, again, TM Hyman, thank you very much. We hope to bring you back again. And I'm going to give this
My pleasure.
over 27 seconds over to Stars Tina.
So, TM, there's so many things I want to say, but first of all,
Let's go.
it seems like the more I get to know you, the more I'm super impressed. And it's very hard to impress me. I want to thank you for sharing your stories from when you were 5 years old, your work ethics. And I'm not going to keep you on here because I know you got to go, but I want you to give me your thoughts because you've known me from day one. My book's coming out in less
Yes.
than a week.
Yes.
Super excited, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. And in my mind, you're one of my coaches. I remember when we had a conversation months ago when you were like, Tina, you have to stretch. And if you guys didn't know, TM is the one who's responsible for the sneakers drive that was, that I did for Nigeria, because I kind of got scared, Pastor Jeff, if you can believe that. And I closed my mouth and I'm like, no one's going to know. And he's like, Tina, why aren't you talking up? And I was like,
Talk about it. Talk about it.
and I had that imposter syndrome going. So TM, tell me if you see a difference from then to now in Stars Tina. I'm just
Oh my
curious.
gosh.
Then you can go.
Absolutely. You absolutely not only have stretched yourself, you're stretching others, right? Congratulations on the book. Tina pulled the book out and actually showed me. I think that book that she has in her hand, it travels with her everywhere. I met that book in Florida, in Gainesville, Florida. And I'm going to say that
I keep making changes every day. I'm like, more.
I was very impressed. It looks good. And I can't wait to get my copy. You not only have you stretched again, you are wiser. We can hear it, right? I think you are more poised. We can see it, right? And you're very intentional. The one thing that and you talk about being impressed, but the one thing that I am impressed is how comfortably you may not feel comfortable, but how comfortable you are living out loud. I'm totally impressed by that. Everyone does not have, just like Pastor Jeff was like, everyone, can't manage thousands of people. And, everyone hasn't done, I believe that all of us, everyone can't dress like Pastor Jeff. See, everybody got something about them, right? I mean, everybody.
Yeah, when we first started, every day he's like, what are you wearing? What are you wearing? I'm like, dude, it's not that serious. It's not that.
Right. And so I'm totally impressed at how you live your life out loud. You're extremely positive. I think you're inspiring people along the way. And Tina, the whole living life out loud piece speaks to confidence. And, there's a ton of confidence that you have. And I think it's a beacon of light for women, right? For women who struggle with confidence. And so you living your life out loud, I think, is helping. And you haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg yet. So yes, and yes to your growth. And I don't think we've seen anything yet. And you've hooked up with this GQ dude right here. So I don't know what's going on.
Dude, let me tell you, we have so many ideas brewing for next year. All right, I said that was the last question, but now last one. What can we expect from TM next year? Can you share at least one thing? Because I know you got a lot going.
Gosh, listen, so this past January, I signed a Roku development deal. Roku has been waiting on content the entire year.
Dude, we got to talk. I got some other stuff to tell you
So
too about the Roku and Apple and all that stuff.
I've had all of that stuff set up all year. They've been waiting, and it's because I've had other stuff going. I'm producing a podcast for a group of multimillionaires right now that's leading into a television production. I am working on some other television stuff right now because I am a producer, folks, and I do live in Atlanta. And so I've been having some stuff going on. Listen, I just created my own TM Hyman chat bot. The chat bot, listen, it has blown my mind because
I don't know what a chat bot is. What is
well,
it? What is a
you
chat bot?
literally go. So right now, when you go to websites, when you go to Walmart, right, they're processing orders through the chatbot. You can ask me questions about mindset and leadership in real time, and I'm talking back to you as my chatbot. I've trained the. Listen, if we don't embrace innovation and creativity, right, to drive our businesses and to get more time back and increase revenue, we're going to become dinosaurs. We got to embrace it. Hug AI like this, y'all. Just hug it. Let's hug it.
Oh my God, Tim, you got to go. I got so many questions, but I know you got to get out of here. I know you got to get out. Who do you look up to? Who is your mentor? Last one, I promise.
Who is my mentor? Man, I have so many. I have so many. Glenn Lundy, hands down, has been one of the biggest mentors. But I'll tell you, right now, I'm in real estate heavy. I'm trying to get my real estate game up, and there's no two people that I show up for in the morning to hear what they have to say outside of Glenn than O'Neill Parker and Byron Holman. Business over breakfast. Those are my little big brothers who, I mean, listen, they schooling the hell out of us right now.
Yes, they are. Look, I've been in this game since 1996. Got a pretty decent portfolio. I ain't got to worry about nothing else.
They schooling us. I'm here for it.
They drop it.
I'm here for it. So yes, O'Neill Parker and Byron Holman. I look up to those brothers right now. Keep doing what y'all doing.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right, I could be here all day. I hope to see you December 16th in Florida. In my mind, I sent you that text message.
In Florida, you did. You talked to me about
Look,
that.
TM, we've got to work with her in her mind. This in my mind, I called you. This in my mind, I did this. We got to work
unconscious mind.
We got to bring that unconscious to the conscious, because the only folks that notice what's going on is Stars Tina.
Too funny.
Yes, Orlando is going to be fire December 16th. All right, we're out of here.
December 16th. Send me. Did you send me the info or just the text? Send me
in my mind. I'm sending it right now.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, I'll wait on it.
Blessings and peace to everyone. Look, if nobody told you today, PJ wants to be the first to tell you, every last one of you have an absolutely beautiful smile. Look, if you don't believe me, find yourself a mirror. I used to say a compact mirror, but I need you to get a bigger mirror so you can see your full smile. Look, you don't believe me? Smile at yourself in the mirror. I guarantee you, yourself is going to smile back at you. Take that as the creator, the universe, whatever you want to call that higher power is letting you know that you're wonderfully and fearfully made. Now go out and share that smile with everyone you come in contact this week. Not because PJ said so, simply because smiles are contagious and frowns are frightening. Even though I know Halloween is coming up, there's some folks like PJ that's got PTSD. You might not want to frighten them.
You're making my cheeks hurt. Bye.